Okay, hi everyone. So today I'm going to talk about using transparency in Emacs as a feature that might improve your productivity instead of um, as an aesthetic. So usually when people use transparent, sometimes they just want to make it a bit fresher, make the experience of using the terminal a bit more interesting. But you could also use it as a feature that might improve productivity. And this one is basically uh, it depends on a few stuff that I mentioned before. So you can see this list here. If you watch some of my previous videos, there's there's something called key code. There's rare bigrams, a directional, and Braille Inspired. These are basically just how I set up my keys. So if you look at this video right here, you notice how quickly I switch between left and right buffers. Sorry, left and right window, and how I quickly open a custom rd-scratch buffer. Using that shortcut. So basically it depends on these four things. So the first is key code, which basically means pressing two keys at once. The second one is rare bigrams, so that simply means rare key combinations. So that means it's unlikely it's going to clash with my usual writing, and usually you can explore what rare bigrams are online. The other one is directionals, which simply means that if undo, I rebind certain keys like undo to the left, so that means there's a directional feel to it. So that means going to the left implies undo. And I didn't really do it for redo, but I did for the other stuff. For example, navigating to previous and next buffer, or right next window, or opening that scratch buffer, that custom scratch buffer to the right. That actually uses key combinations on the right. So, and the last one is Braille Inspired. So that simply means I can type almost without looking these days. So that's a pretty cool trick. So it's a bit hacky, this one, but I might improve it in the future. Okay, so now that we got that one out of the way, so the first thing I want to do is show the usual stuff, how I actually use it, these four things daily. So it might be, for example, I might be opening a file like this, and if I happen to have an idea, maybe I want to copy this word. I'm reading some random article, some random PDF of a topic I found interesting, and all I have to do is just so yeah, as you can see, it's a super convenient shortcut. I just type two keys and that's it. So it's super fast, and we can actually improve it a bit further. So I can remove, I can ignore switching desktop. So this will be quite cool. So let's say, for example, you want to achieve that. So how are we going to go about achieving that? So the problem is that right now this is opening Emacs the usual way, which means that basically simply means Emacs. It simply means if I go to my keys, the Alt Control E is basically the keyboard shortcut I use to open Emacs normally. So it's usually this one, right? So that means I'm opening it Emacs just like this. So yours might look like this. It's basically the same thing, except I add a few stuff. For example, I want to load a custom config I like, something.el, right? So that's the usual way I open Emacs, but it's not going to enable this feature that I'm looking for. So instead, I'm going to use daemon. So right now, this client, Emacs client here, is binded to super plus E. So if I type super plus E, what it does is basically it opens an Emacs client. Alright, so that right now there's a few problems here in that it's not really transparent. First, you might be asking what is Emacs client and Emacs daemon. So I'm not going to go into that because there's a lot of much better videos on how to set up and how to actually do it simply. So usually the general command usually looks like this. That's the general command. So yours might look like this. Once you get you have your client set up, your daemon setup, it's going to do this. So right now I got my daemon startup already, right? So I'm not going to go into detail how to do that, but instead I'm going to show you some of the tricks I did for this one. So by using the custom scratch buffer, I want to open this transparent Emacs client in the scratch buffer, but I also want something else. I want it so that instead of using Control X50, so as you can see, it's quite annoying. Control X50 closes it. It's not exactly, it doesn't have the same feel. I want to use the shortcuts that I have, but apparently I'm running out of shortcuts. So what I did instead was use this expression. So let's dissect what this expression does actually. So we're going to remove this and we're going to focus on the expression. So what it does is basically first set the alpha background, so that makes my frame transparent. As you can see here, this sets the frame transparent. So if you were to say, for example, eval equals bracket, then I feed it this one, that makes it transparent. Alright, sorry, I think I accidentally put the equal sign. So what it does is basically it opens it transparent, but it's not transparent because we actually need to start our compositor. So I haven't done it yet. What you're supposed to do is turn in your compositor, something like this, and that makes it transparent. So I might include this in my startup file so that every time I start my laptop, it actually starts it automatically. So whatever Ubuntu version you're using, make sure you have your compositor turned on, and then once you do that, you can see it's transparent. So right now my text is black, but that's fine because what I do is usually I use it to write something like this, right? So right now, as you can see, it actually opens a normal scratch buffer. So that's not useful enough, because what I want to do is basically make it open my custom scratch buffer so that I can keep I can immediately move to this one, and I can basically type some stuff, forget about it later, and if I want to see what I wrote before, I can just open it like that. Alright, so which means that I have to also include this command right here, and then that makes it open the scratch buffer. But right now it's empty. Okay, right now it's actually not empty. It has the usual ASD that I wrote before. I mean the ASD I wrote before, and this is different from the one here because this is not in daemon. So I forgot to turn on my daemon. So I'm going to exit this one, and I'm going to turn on my daemon. So I'm going to kill my Emacs here first. I'm going to start my daemon. I forgot to start my daemon, and I also forgot to actually set up a keyboard shortcut to open an Emacs client the normal way, which basically I'm supposed to be reading my client. Emacs client is supposed to be something like this. Right, so now let's try writing some stuff here. Let's see, isomorphic. Right, so I got some notes I want to, as a reminder, I want to write it later properly. Alright, so let's say I want the frame right here, right, like this. So instead of the commands here, I also need to add something else, which is binding the two key codes temporarily to a different function that actually deletes the frame. To a lambda delete frame, and then you basically redefine, you basically defining the keyboard, the key code define global again inside your key code define global. That's a pretty cool trick. It actually works. So all I have to do is do that, and actually I define it back to my usual switch right window. So switch right window is what this one does. So if I go to here, so right now it's defined to moving left and right window. So that's what I don't want that when I open my transparent Emacs client. I want it temporarily to delete frame, and then I redefine it back to my previous function. So all I have to do is do that. So we're going to add this one, and that makes it work. So I can see it works. So that means I can type a bunch of stuff, some new words, some new terminology I don't understand, and all I have to do is just press one keyboard and it should close, which apparently it doesn't close because I think I got a typo somewhere. So I think it should be okay, so it's supposed to be in a prog n. So if you do that one more time, this time with a prog n, and that means all I have to do is type like that. So it's quite easy. So because I'm using the IceWM desktop manager, all I have to do is actually type super E, and I can write some stuff. So as you can see, this is pretty cool. So let's say I want to write properly instead of just copy pasting. So I'm gonna write something properly, phonological words. What does it mean? And just like that, I have it in my custom scratch buffer. All right, that's it. That's it for the end of the video. And if there's anything I can add in the YouTube description below that might help your setup, maybe something to make it clearer, please add in the comment section below. And please consider helping with my efforts by buying me a coffee through the coffee link below. It's actually very simple. It's much more simpler than PayPal. It accepts all debit, credit card. If you have PayPal, you can also use that one. And that's it for today, and thanks for watching. Bye.